And I'm going to start by apologizing, Beth, that we have to take your very valuable time to do this again. We had a glitch in the recording of the first session, and we didn't think it was fair not to give you the opportunity to speak again. And Yumin has just reminded me, don't forget to record. And this is already being recorded. The Zoom was set to pre-record, but thank you. And we've rounded up some of the usual suspects to ask our questions, Beth.
Okay, great.
I'll just give the preamble we gave last time. Contrary to what it says on the screen, I am not Maggie Savoca. I am Merv Turner. I'm Maggie's co-founder of OneNJ7. We're a grassroots all-volunteer organization. We're committed to strengthening democracy and to progressive values, and we're looking to flip New Jersey, the 7th Congressional District in New Jersey, blue. And these meetings are a key part of that effort. We want to give voters the opportunity to hear directly from you, Beth, and the other candidates who want to represent us in Congress. And we'll be inviting all of you after the gubernatorial elections and the statewide elections in November to participate in a candidate forum. And the questions that we asked, we culled these questions from questions that we received across our organization. And as you know, we give them the same questions to all the candidates in the same format, the same wording. And if you're not Beth, please put yourself on mute until you're asking a question. But Beth, we'd like to start off by again giving you the opportunity to tell us something about yourself and why you want to run for Congress. It's all yours.
Okay, so I'm back in the United States. That's different from
Yes,
the last
that's
time
right.
that I did this. Um,
You were in France, right?
I was at that
Yeah.
point, but most of the time I was teaching in Italy, and then I was doing some research in France and Spain, and it wasn't bad. So I am not complaining at all about that. It was great. So the reason why I decided I wanted to run for Congress, well, first of all, in full disclosure, I always wanted to run for office my whole life. I worked on a lot of campaigns when I was a kid. Before I could even vote, I volunteered. And I really care about the political process. I really care about lawmaking. And I wanted to run earlier in my life. And it didn't work out. It just didn't work out job wise, being a mom at the time, all those things. And I thought it was never going to happen. And then I thought, well, I have a nonprofit organization and I help women. We help women. And that's one of the main reasons why I want to run for office. And I thought, well, I can probably do enough or more with my nonprofit than running for office. And then last November, when I left the firehouse where I voted, I just had a feeling that it wasn't going to be good. And then I thought, wow, I live in this district. Why don't I run? And so then I started thinking about it. And I know that I'm a little bit behind from other people's campaigns, but I really thought about it long and hard. And it's not it's not going to be fun, but I think that it's really important that I try because I think that I may have a chance to do it. And so that's why I'm running.
Okay, well, let me ask, well, you've covered some of this, but what about your background and your experience makes you think you're qualified to represent New Jersey, 7th Congressional District in Congress, and why do you think you'll be a better choice than your co-frères who are also running in the race?
Okay, great question. So I am incredibly impressed by the people who are running. Um, I think that the backgrounds and the education levels of the people who are running for this seat are extremely impressive. And I think it shows what an incredible group we have in New Jersey. Um, and I just want to make a point about that. Having worked in New Jersey at News 12 New Jersey, we always have all of our bosses were from outside of New Jersey. They weren't New Jersey people. And they really didn't understand how smart we are and how educated we are and how interested we are in things. And I think that this group of people running for office just shows that we have such a wonderful group to choose from. And then, I mean, look at our gubernatorial primary. We had a lot of really great candidates to choose from. So I do think that they're very good. And I do think that it will help me be better running against them. Well, I'm not really running against them. I don't want to run against a Democrat, but running alongside them, I think will strengthen my campaign. Why do I think that I will be good? I think I worked in media for a long time, for one thing. I think that that helps being in front of the camera. I think this might be a very highly contested race across the country. And I think that being able to speak on camera and deal with reporters and also deal with the criticism that you get when you're running for office. I don't know if people realize this, but when you're the on-air person in a smaller market in this country, everybody's criticizing you all the time. Here in the New York, like in the New York metropolitan area, the people don't feel it as much because there are so many people on the air. But there's a lot of criticism, and it at first it's upsetting, and then you realize, okay, it's part of the deal. So I think, and also I know how to get some free media. So the media experience is one aspect of, but that's not the main or more important thing. What I do for a job now, and I have been doing since 2000, well, I started teaching in 2005. I teach criminal justice, but I don't know if people really understand what that means when we say criminal justice. This is not all about, cops and guns and things like that. That's part of it. We study police and society, but I've taught 32 different classes. And all of the classes that I've taught have to deal with law. Everything we do has to deal with law and the policies and making society better. So, for example, well, gender crime and justice is my favorite class to teach. But for example, when you're teaching juvenile delinquency, it's important to understand how these things happen, right? We don't want to just deal with criminals and talk about let's put them away. We want to make society better and prevent crime before it happens. So how do we do that sometimes? Well, maybe we give people a chance. So we shouldn't be doing things like cutting Head Start, which is a program that is so valuable, and I teach about Head Start in my class in juvenile delinquency because when people go to school and their parents don't have the skills to teach them how to do well in school, then they're often rejected by the teachers because the teachers think, ah, this kid is a pain. Or if a kid doesn't have a good breakfast and the students think, the teachers think, oh, wow, that kid doesn't care about school. So programs like Head Start, they may cost money up front, but they're going to save money in the long run when we have a better population and we have less crime because we give people opportunities to have education and to succeed. So I think because what I do, and I've had a chance to think about this, but really every single thing that I do, all my research and all my teaching, it all has to do with laws and legislation. And so I think that this is what I've been doing and this is what I'm passionate about. And I just want to make New Jersey better in the country.
Thank you, Beth. That's a great answer. Our second question comes from Anne Friedman. Anne?
Yes, good evening, Beth. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you.
What would your top priorities be as a member of Congress? And how would you effectively pursue them as a first-term representative? What committees would you seek to serve on and why?
Okay, so as I mentioned, my personal top priority is women's issues. And so therefore, I would like to make sure that we have reproductive freedom in our country. And there are lots of other issues that go along with gender that we don't talk about very much in society, dealing with domestic violence and sexual assault and harassment and all these things. So yes, I would like to be on any kind of committee that helps women. But also, I think right now our country has changed so much so quickly in the last few months that I think we have to really look at the quality of life for working people. This big horrible bill that just passed, this unbelievable transfer of wealth upward, they will not be trickling down. This transfer of wealth upward is going to cause so many problems. So of course, issues like Medicare and Medicaid, no matter what they say, it is going to affect even Medicare. We have people, although we are in a pretty wealthy district, that doesn't mean that everybody's wealthy. And it doesn't mean that people do not need to have Medicaid. We have people who are on disability who need Medicaid. That has to be immediately changed. That has to be immediately changed. But also, I think that I read this book. As I mentioned, I have a policy master's, right? And we read this book, and it was called, I think the title was A Decent Place to Live. And I think everybody deserves a decent place to live. And how can you have a decent place to live when you can't even afford rent I'm sorry, but I work 2 jobs and I'm struggling. And I've had a lot of privileges in my life. So for me, imagine how difficult it is for other people. So I think affordability, I think women's rights, and of course, I do think common sense gun safety is a big issue for me. To tell you the truth, my 2 big issues are women's issues and gun safety. But so many of them are so important to me. So I think that's how I would start.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Our next question comes from Joan Peters. Joan, you're on mute.
Okay, so hi, nice to see you
Hi.
again.
Nice to see you again too.
Okay, now I lost the question. All right, as you know, 07 is a district with 20,000 more registered Republicans than Democrats. The past 2 candidates have been unsuccessful, and much of it to me revolves around Kane's name recognition. What is your plan for winning the election in New Jersey, 07, and what would you do differently?
Okay, great question. So Kane has great name recognition, but I have a little name recognition too. And
Sure.
so that was one of the reasons why I thought maybe I could do this. And I'm going to remind everybody that I was on News 12 for a long time, and I did a lot of stories in floods and in all the different towns that make up our district, right? And so that is one thing I have a little. Um, and I do joke, I have to say, so Steve Sr., who was, a political, oh wow, I don't even know how to describe it, but he's been called a kingmaker in the New York Times. Um, when people used to say to me, "Is Steve your father?" And I'd say, "Oh, no, no, no. My father is a basketball coach. Nobody's mad at him." So that was my answer there. But anyway, I do have a little name ID. Hey, by the way, we even have a section of um, Branch Brook Park named for us. So I don't have cane everywhere all over the state, but there's a little Adubato section of Branch Brook Park. So that's one thing. But the important work is, I think that we need to get young people excited. So there are approximately, I don't have the numbers exactly, but I have approximately 40,000 15 to 19-year-olds living in the district. and about this a little bit more, about 45,000 20 to 24-year-olds living in the district. And I think that's one of the places that we need to go. And I'm going to tell you, as a professor who talks about this stuff all the time in my classes, the students right now, the kids right now, they are really disheartened. I don't know how they are when you see them on, like when you see some on TV going, "Oh, we're so excited." Well, I think they're not, because they didn't come out. And also they're very misinformed. They are extremely misinformed. And I think the last time I was on this, I said one of the things I would do in Congress is to make sure that we restore civic lessons in high schools and grade schools, because the students don't know very much at all. But when I talk to my students, I would never tell them who to vote for. I would never do that. But I do talk about the issues, and I do talk about misinformation. And I think we need to go for the youth voters. And so I have decided to, as soon as I can, I've offered a position as a youth coordinator to one of my former students who graduated from St. Peter's this past May. And she's going to Kane for grad school, ironically. But I don't even think she put it together. But anyway, she was the captain of the dance team. She's on the honor society. She's just this great girl. And I said, I'd really like you to do this, because I think we need young people to talk to other young people and to get them excited. We need to close that gap somehow. And so that's the plan that I have.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Beth. And our next question comes from Lois Healy. Lois, you're on mute, if you can unmute.
Did that work?
Yes, that works, Lois. Thank you. Yeah.
So long. Beth, thank you so much for doing this. As an individual representative, what would or could you do to help protect our district's immigrants from some of the horrific things we've seen, especially apprehending people, taking them off the sidewalk without due process, and when they haven't had any criminal charges?
That's such a great question. Well, for one thing, I think that we all have to band together. I think that we cannot close our eyes to this, and we cannot think this is some other community's problem. And I think that we need to have meetings about it, and we need to talk about it. We need to knock on doors. We need to have town halls. We have to let people know what their rights are and how to protect our neighbors. And you see so many, and another thing, we need to get the mainstream media to start talking about this. It is absolutely shocking to me how often I'm seeing something, on Now This, Impact, or Democracy Now, and you're seeing footage of people being kidnapped off the streets. And I don't see that in the New York Times, and I don't see that on the Washington Post. So of course, if people don't really think that it's happening, which, believe it or not, some people don't think it's happening. I just want to say that I was at Warren County. I was in Warren County on Thursday night at a meeting, and while there were about 8 or 9 people talking about how it's important for us, they have a proclamation in that county to try to ensure that everybody has their rights protected. There were people who stood up and spewed so much misinformation and said people are not being kidnapped off the streets. So how do we get the media to actually respond and really get the word out there? I don't think they're going to do it. So I think we have to do it. I'm sorry, but my computer is telling me how to use effective hand gestures.
That's okay.
So anyway, and then as far as the law, we have to protect states and we have to protect cities that have sanctuary cities. We have to make sure that they don't try to take away our sanctuary cities. And I think, first of all, we have to make sure that we don't, that we elect a Democrat for governor, because one of the things that this guy wants to do is take away sanctuary cities from New Jersey. But when you have people in Warren County, I have to tell you that the woman who was, I guess she's the deputy something or other, she actually said right there on the record, well, we've had to deal with 4 years of immigrants coming in illegally into this country, what we've had to endure for the last 4 years. So this kind of ignorance is really unacceptable. And I think we have to just keep up. We have to keep it up and make sure that we don't let the laws take over New Jersey or any other place too. But you know how the same thing that happened with the gun laws, right? Where we have good laws in New Jersey and then some other state sues us and changes our gun laws, as in Bruin, for example. We cannot let that happen in New Jersey. We have to make sure that we keep our sanctuary cities and band together and not back down and protest and be in the streets.
Thank you, Beth. I think we're all ready to get out on the streets on this call. I'm going to call on Dan Murphy for our next question. Dan, you're on mute. Thank you, Dan.
Yes, hello, Beth. You mentioned, and of course, we all know this is going to be one of the most competitive races in the country and therefore very expensive. And of course, you know, we're in a very costly media market. So, what sources of campaign funds do you have that you can tap? And what organizations or committees might you be approaching for campaign funding? And how much will you pursue and rely on endorsements and campaigns from the county Democratic committees?
That's a really good question, Dan. Well, I will try to raise as much money as I possibly can. I am very far behind the other people. I think I mentioned before, I wasn't sure if I was allowed to start fundraising out of the country. And so I did not do that until I was back in the country. And I'm at the stage right now where I'm Rolodexing and being creative. I do think that I have a good, for the beginning, for the root system, I think I have a good grassroots group of people. I've worked so many places and I know so many people. And I want to tell you that a lot of my former students were the first ones to donate, which is really nice. I am going to be meeting with different representatives from various labor unions over the next couple weeks. And I am going to labor candidate school on August 9th and 10th. And I don't know if you all know, but I am a member of 4 unions, and I am going to meet with people from SAG-AFTRA, which you think, well, why does that have anything to do with New Jersey? Well, Netflix just built a really giant, or is building a really giant studio in New Jersey, and it's important that we make sure that the unions are involved with any kind of work going on, for example, at the new Netflix, and that there are no deals being made. So I guess I'm going to approach groups that I agree with their with their politics, and I'm going to try to be as creative as I possibly can and work very hard at it. But I don't know any magic way to make money, but I'm going to try.
Thank you, Beth. So, Terry Tauber, who would normally be asking this next question, couldn't join us tonight. So I'll ask her question. This district, we don't exactly run from sea to shining sea, but we do run from the Rahway River to the Delaware River. We pretty much span the breadth of New Jersey across a whole range of urban, suburban, and rural districts. What messages and policies do you think can bring these disparate communities together to support your candidacy?
Okay. So I think maybe except for the billionaires, which we have some, I think right now all of us in the district are concerned about our quality of life. I think that while, obviously some of these things they're set not to go into effect until after the midterm election. But I think that I've also read that that may be true, but even as early as this next coming January, the the medical costs are going to go up for everybody. So if you're getting medical insurance at work and you're paying $349 a month, it might be going up to $549. So I do think that the economy is an issue that most people are concerned about. Maybe not the very, very wealthy, but most people are concerned. And the other thing I think people are really concerned about is the education of their children. And I think that we cannot have cuts to schools, and also some of these cuts for the cuts for helping students who have disabilities, and all of these other horrible draconian cuts for schools, for the special teachers that we need for special education and things like that. I think that the education and the economy are the two issues that can bring people together, and also women's reproductive rights. So those are three that I do think can bring us together.
Thank you. And I see that Jack, you raised your hand. Did you want to ask a question?
Let me unmute. Am I off mute now?
You are indeed, yes.
Yeah, my question is, as someone who's taught at the university level, what can you do in Congress about the cuts to education and particularly research? I mean, last year, there was maybe $160 billion. I think it might have been 162 billion just for research alone. And I used to teach international relations, and our research infrastructure attracted people from all over the world. And it was also one of our greatest tools in soft power that we could project. Now nobody dare risk coming, and some of our best are being recruited out of the United States. And what I see in response to this, nothing. All I see is Colombia caving, corporate America, who depends a lot on this research because they don't have to expend those funds themselves. And there seems to be no outrage. They also generate income for those communities that surround universities. The ripple effect is eternal. I mean, in Congress, what do you think you can do to reverse that? Or what's your opinion of it to begin with?
Okay, well, I do research. I do research myself, and I had a grant from the Office of Violence Prevention, and it just was canceled. It just was canceled. So this is really important research. Also, I was bringing someone as a Fulbright visiting. So 2 years ago, I had a Fulbright scholarship. I was bringing the woman to come teach at our university at St. Peter's, our little school, and her topics were innovations in immigration and gender studies. And I received a letter from the government saying that it was canceled. I mean, she's not allowed to come. This is a horrible, horrible, disgusting loss. The canceling of research. It is going, I think I read somewhere that it's already set us back in medical research, already has set us back decades. And you're right. We were the shining light in the world when it comes to research and all we've contributed. And also, it does affect the income of people here, right? We have we have a lot of pharmaceutical companies, and we have people who work in pharmaceutical companies who live in our district. And you would think, well, they are going to be pretty mad about the fact that a lot of research is going to be cut back. I mean, it's terrible. So I'm completely in agreement with you. I'm sickened by it. I'm sickened by it. Um, so I just think, well, I mean, we have to actually flip the Congress, right? It just can't, I can't be it can't just be me in there, and we have to have a majority. We have to do it. We have to make it clear to the American people that this is pretty much it for us if we don't get this accomplished. My biggest fear right now is that we're not going to have fair elections, because I believe that we can get people to vote against this. But it's interesting today. I'm serving now, was my first day on this committee, and it's the New York City um, higher ed. I don't know. It's just some new group that was formed, and so I'm there representing Rutgers, and we had people there from Columbia, from CUNY, from NYU, from the New School, and we were all saying we were just commiserating on the cuts to research and how horrible this is and what we need to do. And basically, what we were saying is we cannot stop protesting this. We cannot stop. And it cannot be just willy-nilly protesting. It has to be a force. And so that's partly what we're going to be doing this week, this fall, is we decided we need to have town halls because we have to get people aware. And we're going to have a major event where we do a giant protest from university to university across New York City. And I said, can we please start in Newark and go to Jersey City and then take the PATH train so that we can include NJIT and Rutgers and St. Peter's, and we were on the call. So I agree with you. We have to, it's one of the worst things. But you know what? There's so many bad things. It's really hard. It's really hard to even say it's one of the worst things, but it is. It's one of the worst things. And I'll do everything to make sure that we get our research funding back.
Thank you. Just let me know when the protest is.
I
Yeah.
will.
Yes, thank you, Beth. And you can probably tell I'm not a native of Hoboken, and it was the American science establishment that brought me to this country. And I did work in the pharmaceutical industry in New Jersey for 27 years. Anyway, I'll ask the next question. As you refer to the big horrible bill, the big bad bill, whatever one would call it, it's certainly not one big beautiful bill. We already have people who stand to lose Medicaid, SNAP, and other benefits due to these cuts. What can we do to help those people now who stand to lose from these changes?
I'm afraid a lot of this right now is going to fall on the nonprofits. And again, I think this whole idea that we have to make it clear to all of us that we're all in this together and we're all everybody's neighbor, and it could be you next. So I do have a nonprofit and we help women, and a woman who is a domestic violence survivor who we helped last year, and we helped at Christmas, just messaged me last week, and she's being evicted, and we don't have my nonprofit does not have the kind of ability to help her get an apartment. Normally we help people once they've been placed. But she said she needed paper towels and she needed cleaning products. And this is what people need. I mean, it is this dire that people who are, I mean, these are the people who really need our help most. And I have another woman getting out on parole tomorrow, and she's leaving Edna Man with the only pair of shoes she has is a pair of slide slippers. And she has to go for a job interview on Monday. And so we are, scrambling to get her some clothing for her interview. So I'm afraid it is going to fall on the nonprofits, and the nonprofits are already, we've had cuts. As I mentioned, my one grant was cut. And I know other nonprofits who are bigger are really going to have this burden, but I'm afraid that people are going to have to really kind of spread the wealth and help other people because I'm not sure how else we can get through this until we can get those people out of there and bring the fairness back in our system again.
Thank you, Beth. PC Conley, you're up next. Do you want to unmute?
Oh yeah, I'm a Mets fan.
Okay. PC, you're on mute.
There we
There you
go.
go. There you go. Yep.
Sorry, Mary Beth. Or, Beth Ellen, right? Beth, if you were elected to Congress and the Democrats took control of the House of Representatives, what methods would you favor to reverse some of these more draconian policies? And would they include actions such as impeachment or removal of Trump officials?
I believe that that man has completely broken every possible. I mean, he has broken so many laws. He is. It's incredible that this kind of stuff is happening, right? Are you allowed to have a commercial on the White House lawn? Are you allowed to use $10 million in taxpayer money to go fly to Scotland to open your golf course? I mean, it's so constant that we're not even doing anything about it. So I 100% support impeachment. And I think that we should get rid of as many people as possible, because I don't think having JD Vance is going to be so great either. I mean, I don't think he has the, I hate to say charisma, but do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think he has the same ability, power to get followers the way Trump does. I don't think people are as afraid of him as they are afraid of Trump. But he is maybe even worse in some ways, because some of the things that he actually espouses are terrible. Cult appeal, exactly. So yes, I do support that. These people, they have committed so many unconstitutional acts that they do need to be impeached.
Thank you. Yumin has a hand up, but I'm going to finish with the last regular question, and then Yumin, you can come in with yours. Our last regular question was, do you believe that we should push to improve US relations with NATO, the EU, and our other allies, despite the Trump administration's disdain for those alliances?
Yes, I do. So I know I answered this last time, but I'm going to answer it.
Yep.
So yes, so 2 years ago, I mean, of course, I've always been pro NATO and our relationships with the European Union and our good allies. But 2 years ago, when I was on my Fulbright, I had the pleasure of being in Brussels. And because I was there as a representative of the State Department, we were invited to so many different Outlook papers, Outlook releases, policy releases. And at that point, they were so excited. They were so happy because they said that Biden was the most European president we've had in decades. And they were very excited about the work on climate change and just the kind of union and relationships that we had with NATO. And their biggest fear was that Trump would be reelected. So I can see, and also teaching there and being there for that time was such an invaluable experience. We must restore that relationship, those relationships, we must. And also for the sake of Ukraine, we must restore those relationships and completely undo all of the damage that he has done.
Thank you, Beth. Okay, so that's we've gone through all our questions for all the candidates. We heard Jack's question. Yumin, you had a question also?
Yeah, I just have one question, which was last time King won this district, he was very good on like social media and advertising through just like random pop-up ads and like YouTube and things like that. So I was just wondering like how strong you feel about the social media, that your social media game, and what you need to think we need to improve as a Democratic Party, like in this district, because it's pretty quiet. And people in this district, you know, they see like one or two ads bad mouthing the last Democratic representative from this district, which was Malinowski in 2020, and they just ran those ads in this area, and Malinowski didn't have a comeback or response on social media. And I really honestly believe, even though I went out and like knocked on doors, you know, that message like spread way further than like what we can do like physically with our legs, just going out there and like trying to talk to people. He didn't have a good response, which wasn't great, but so I'm just wondering, like, I like to try to ask all candidates like what they think their social media game is, and like how you know how you're improving your own skills, because this is kind of new to all of us. The Democratic Party in general, definitely all of us probably need to be better at our social media game to kind of help our candidates. I know I myself am pretty much of a loner, so I don't have a whole lot of friends that I can like spread things to, or they all think like me. So it's a little difficult to kind of like branch out of that bubble and try to like reach people who haven't heard these messages before. But yeah, so I was just kind of wondering, like, you know, what you think about that, and like how you plan to strategize as you campaign forward.
That's a great question. Well, one thing that I've thought about doing before I was being handled by people, I thought about maybe doing sort of a series of little short videos that explain things about our political system, because I think that that is something that people don't know. I mean, even my friends, when I talk about things with them, they'll say, "Oh, Beth, I didn't know that. I don't know what you're talking about." So I had an idea to do that. And I think that because I used to be in news, that maybe I might be good at making little videos. And so I've made a couple of them so far, and I just hit on one issue at a time. But I need help too, because even though I can make the videos, I'm not really good at posting them or having the right, having the right link things and stuff like that. So I am going to call on young people to help me to do that. Definitely try to get my social media game. And I have to tell you, I actually told this to somebody in the meeting earlier today, but one of my former students who I never agreed with in any way in social media and in any kind of political arena. I wrote him a recommendation for graduate school, even though I hesitated because I feel like his political stances are so terrible. Anyway, he contacted me. He went to American University, studied political relations, got a job for one of those congressmen who was just awful, and now he is a lobbyist for the gun lobby. And he called me and he said, "Professor, I know that we never got along politically, but I want to help you with your media campaign." He said, "I'm going to do it because I respect you." And so I said, "Okay, that's great." So I'm very open to listening to young people because I don't know how to do it. But I will say, you know who does some pretty good social media posts all the time is Cory Booker. And I think that, I see him, they're not always so complicated. Sometimes he's just walking down the street, talking into the camera, the walk and talk, as we used to call it in the media. So I think you're really onto something. And my friends are saying, "Beth, just do a lot of them. Just flood it. Just do the little video, have one important point policy wise in each one of the videos, and just get it out there." And the thing about not hitting back when people criticize you, that's a really important thing too. And I hate it. I dread what they're going to say about me. I dread it. But I've tried to keep my life pretty, good. But anyway, as I think I mentioned the last time I was on here, I have a letter from Kane's office when I got the Fulbright, when he congratulated me, saying that I was one of the brightest people in the 7th district. And I can't wait to publish that when they come after me.
Great. Okay. We got time for one more question. Reggie, you've got your hand raised. Do you want to unmute?
Thank you. Actually, Beth, I have two questions. Obviously, Mikey Sherrill's election will take most of the attention in New Jersey this year, and you and the other candidates will hopefully can piggyback on Mikey's hopefully successful campaign and election in November. So my one question is, and you don't have to answer, but I'm just a thought for you is how you can benefit from Mikey's campaign to promote your campaign. And then my second question is, I make phone calls on Saturday and Sundays for Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey and for Abigail Spanberger in Virginia. And while I'm making the phone calls, there's downtime, so I'll have the TV on and I'll have it on mute. So on Saturday and Sunday, there's a lot of sports programs on, and I'm thinking to myself, the thousands of people sitting in the arena watching women's basketball, the thousands of people at the golf course watching PGA golf, and then the millions of Americans watching these sporting events. Again, Beth, I don't expect you to have an answer right now, but there's got to be a way that Democrats can tap into some of that energy that people get so excited about sports about. And since you have sports in your family, maybe that's something you could think about. How do we get that same kind of enthusiasm that too many Americans have for sports and get them enthusiastic about the issues that really matter, like women's rights and the fact that their child can get killed tomorrow by a guy with an with an AR-15 or an AK-47 walking down the street?
Thank you, Reggie. Yep.
Okay, so thank you, Reggie. I'm not sure how I'm going to handle that question, but I'm going to sort of say one of the things that I believe, and to tap into this energy, I believe that if some of these athletes just said, I am not going to play in a game where in Texas, where 25 children are killed, and then the governor decides to let's have more guns. Let's have more guns in our state because of that. Let's give more licenses for that. Let's have assault weapons. So I believe that athletes could make a difference. I totally agree with you. And because now I have all this pressure on me to raise money, I've been thinking, like, I know Shaq. My dad coached Shaq. And I don't know if Shaq is well, you know what? He actually has done a lot for the city of Newark. But I do think we need to tap into these athletes. You're completely right. And, my dad did coach the New York Liberty, and he coached Becky Hammon when she was at the Liberty, and now she's the Aces coach, and she was the first woman who was a coach in the NBA as an assistant. I think somebody like the coach of the Golden State, Steve Kerr, right? Steve Kerr is one of those people was an athlete, and he's a coach now, and he uses his platform in the NBA to try to make a difference. Someone like LeBron James does. But I think maybe you're right. If we encourage more athletes to do this, and you know what? And people argue with me about this. They say, well, why should they do that? Why should they protest or say they're not going to play? Because they can. Because there's so much money wrapped up in the NBA and the NFL that if two players said, we are not going to play unless you change this rule, then then the owners would have to listen. And just on one note about that, during I guess it was during the last Trump administration before the 2020 election. There's a woman who was the senator in Georgia who had just been placed there. Remember her? I can't remember her name now. She was a very wealthy woman who's friends with Trump, and she wasn't elected. and she was a part owner of the Atlanta WNBA team. And she made a lot of racist comments. And the players said, "We are not going to play until she is no longer part of the ownership," and she had to leave. So it does work. It does work. And I think you're right. We need to somehow tap into, thank you. Thank you, BC. We have to tap into that energy.
Great, thank you, Beth. Hey, Beth, we're just about out of time. I really want to thank you again for agreeing to do a redo on this, and we greatly appreciate the time you've devoted to us and the quality and breadth of your answers. And if I think we've got your campaign website information, we'll make sure that that gets dropped in when we post all the videos. And I'd like to thank all our questioners for turning out. I must say it's better to be indoors in an air-conditioned environment tonight than outside. But anyway, so thank you very much, Beth, and
Thank you for
thank you.
inviting me, all of you, and thank you for your questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your participation, everyone. Have a good evening. Good night.
Everybody.